The 5-year-long wait for Wreckreation has been a bumpy ride. What started off as a direct sequel to Dangerous Driving has turned into a sandbox driving game that combines elements of Burnout Paradise and Trackmania together. Now that I've played a lot of the game, what do I think of it? Well, it's very disappointing. Despite the improvements from Dangerous Driving, there are far too many lingering issues along with new ones that really hurt the game. So this video will cover both the positive aspects I like, along with the negative ones that tainted my experience. Before I start, I want to give a huge thanks to No More Mercy, who was able to get me a review key for the game. Make sure to check out his review as well. Anyways, let's start with the best part of Wreckreation, its online multiplayer. You can tell a lot of the development focus was spent on the online multiplayer component of Wreckreation. There are a bunch of challenges inspired by the ones from Burnout Paradise and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. From the impromptu races, stunts, shutdowns, to a bunch of wacky ones made by the devs, there are so many to get lost into. The race events from the career mode are also available here as well. The main feature that people are going to be using is the Live Mix Editor. This is a tool where you can place down a ton of items, which range from sky tracks, ramps, moving hazards, general props, and more. The host of the session can also make other people guest DJs for a live mix, so they can work together on the same stuff. It's incredible being able to seamlessly do all of this online with minimal issues. Even with a lot of objects placed down, my game still ran just fine performance-wise. Live Mix is also incorporated into the challenges, as some may require using those items to complete them, and you can make your own challenges. You can have a lot of stupid fun just messing about with both Live Mix and the challenges. The only negative for online is that there's no crossplay. I feel this will really hurt the online multiplayer in the future, as I don't imagine the player base will be big enough or last long enough to have populated lobbies. Regardless, now you might be wondering, what about the single player and overall game experience? Well, this is where things start going downhill. While the multiplayer is a ton of fun, the single player in comparison is not as good. It's structured pretty much like Burnout Paradise, where you need to drive around to discover locations, events, and collectibles. There is a license system where you level up by completing events, and cars are unlocked by going through the career. These vehicles are either available right away in the parking lots, or you have to shut them down when they are freely roaming around. There are 4 game modes, being races, time trials, off-road, and road rage. One glaring problem is that the races and time trials aren't particularly interesting. Because of the map design, these events take place on long stretches of rather straight road with not a lot of sharp turns. Traffic and general hazards also are pretty lacking, which doesn't help either. The races on the sky tracks aren't much better since the AI can't handle them that well. Off-road is essentially a time trial that isn't on a set road, so it's enjoyable going off-road through parts of the map you may not normally explore. So what about the road rage then? While it was a mind-numbingly boring mode in Dangerous Driving, in Wreckreation it's just rage-inducing. The car combat is inconsistent and frustrating, making it a struggle to take down rivals. The AI respawns far ahead of you and are really hard to catch back up to since they don't slow down. Also, the AI kept spawning on the wrong roads, and even sometimes going the wrong way. Road Rage is my favorite game mode in the Burnout series, so it's insulting how awful it is in Wreckreation. Regardless, it's just more interesting making your own events and using Live Mix. The problem is that the Live Mix features have to be unlocked by playing the career and finding the item collectibles around the map. That means you are essentially locked out of the best aspect of the game. Overall, the single player is filled with questionable design decisions that undermines the entire point of Wreckreation. One redeeming aspect of Wreckreation is its vehicles. There are a total of 24 unique models, with each having an upgraded version that is obtained from winning its particular time trial event. These vehicles range from coupes, sedans, trucks, SUVs, and race cars. They are grouped into 4 car classes, being bruisers, off-road, race cars, and hypercars. What is interesting is that these vehicles were bought from a 3D car modeling company called Squire, and they also commissioned Squire to design some for the game as well. I'm a big fan of how they look, as they really stand out compared to the D-badge car models we are seeing more often in lower budget racing games. I'm also surprised by the pretty decent car sounds. There is way more depth and range in them compared to Dangerous Driving. On a side note, the sense of speed is simply awesome as well. I will say that I do miss having the more oddball vehicles that were shown in the previous trailers, like a van, food truck, and front loader. Anyways, there isn't much to conclude other than that Wreckreation has a nice selection of vehicles that sound good, and there's a really good sense of speed here too. The open world in Wreckreation is an aspect that I feel really mixed on. To start with the positives, there's a lot of elevation changes along with jumps, many dirt roads, and little areas to find. There's a full time of day system along with rain, fog, and snow. There are moments where it all comes together to make a beautiful looking world. Plus, I'm a sucker for collectibles, and there are a lot of billboards, gates, and live mix items to find. However, the map is all rural with no urban areas like towns or cities. There's only one environment type as well, so you won't run into a desert, for example. A lot of the roads are really wide, rather straight, and don't have a lot of hazards. The same thing goes for the turns with really wide, sweeping corners that aren't all that sharp. The only place I noticed the roads getting much tighter and more technical is in the mountainous areas. Quite a few world props like rocks, tree stumps, and logs have no collision. I found a part of the map where a rock wall was misplaced, so it was floating above the ground. While there are quite a few positive elements of Wreckreation's map, there are also quite a few negative ones that leave me feeling conflicted. It's not a terrible open world, but it also isn't a great one either. The AI in Wreckreation have pretty much the same issues that it did in Dangerous Driving. They jerk around unnaturally when driving and racing. They rubber band like crazy, so they catch up to you super fast, but then it's very hard for you to catch up to them. Also, I've seen the AI take 90-degree corners at full speed. Lastly, there is no AI in multiplayer, so you can't have them fill race slots if the lobby is rather empty. In short, the AI needs a lot more work as this aspect was clearly neglected. Dangerous Driving got heavily criticized for not having a soundtrack, and Wreckreation certainly fixes this. There are a total of 16 radio stations that each cater to a particular genre. You have electronic, rock, pop, country, classical music, and more. A lot of the songs are more generic tracks from artists you probably won't know, so the music may end up becoming background noise at times. However, it's certainly better than nothing, and I do appreciate the variety of genres we get here. I'm sure that you'll be able to find a particular radio station that is just right for you. I saved the worst for last, which is the physics. While I don't expect them to be perfect, they are far too detrimental to the experience for me to tolerate or ignore. In terms of the controls, cars will grip around corners until hitting the brakes, which usually kicks them into drifts. While the four car classes do feel different from each other, in general the vehicles have this heavy but unresponsive and floaty grip handling model. This means it's hard to make quick moves to avoid hazards or to steer your car into opponents to take them down. However, the bigger problem is the drifting. Starting the drift feels relatively smooth, but the drift angle is a bit sharper than you might expect. Once you try to countersteer to adjust your angle or to even get out of the slide, the car's trajectory can jerk into a direction you just don't expect. It's hard to describe, but you can see from these clips how my momentum all of a sudden straightens out instead of continuing on the proper drift curve. The same thing can happen if you hit a breakable object too. These issues lead to drifting that is really jarring and very inconsistent. The collisions are also problematic. I had lower sitting cars clip into the loop pieces of the Skytrax, which would kill a lot of my speed. When hitting cars to perform takedowns, sometimes they will violently bounce off of you like they did in Dangerous Driving. Then other times, they are brick walls with little give. It doesn't matter the type of vehicle you're using or the rival that you're hitting. You could be smashing your heavy truck into a light supercar and it'll barely budge. What makes it worse is that you constantly bounce off your opponents, no matter how big or small the hit is. This means it's super hard to push opponents into hazards, and sometimes you bounce off of them so violently that you end up crashing out. The only good thing about the physics is the damage model and crashes. When cars get beat up, there's a lot of visual damage on the paint, parts fall off, and there's a surprising amount of deformation. There are times though where the metal bends and stretches in a way that looks very unnatural. In terms of the crashes, it's quite fun seeing the momentum of the wrecks, especially if the vehicles start rolling. Besides this, everything from the general driving experience to the car combat is unpolished, inconsistent, and downright frustrating. In the end, I can't help but to feel really let down by Wreckreation. There are improvements here from Dangerous Driving, with the amount of content, vehicles, damage models, soundtrack, and multiplayer. However, the single player is really lackluster, the open world could be way better, the AI sucks, the physics are terrible, and it's just not polished enough even for a full release at $40. There is fun to be had here, but it's hampered by issues that really should have been corrected. I just cannot recommend Wreckreation currently, as it still needs a lot of work to become a solid title. This has been Gamer Alex. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.